Hello there, and welcome to JetBrains .NET Days 2025. I'm Matt from the JetBrains .NET team, and I'm very pleased to have you with us today.
And I'm Mehul from Product Marketing. Whether you're watching live or catching the replay, thank you for being here today with the .NET community.
.NET Days is an event we've been putting on for several years now. I think this is the 6th edition, and it's something we really enjoy and look forward to. It's a community event at heart, built by and for .NET developers who share ideas and knowledge, trade tips, and perhaps most importantly, ship real software.
So thank you for what you share, the code, talks, feedback, and the countless threads that keep pushing .NET forward.
We've got a great set of community talks this year, everything from real-world ASP.NET Core and Web API, pragmatic performance, diagnostics, testing strategies, C# and F# language features and refactoring tips, modern cloud with .NET Aspire, Azure, and more. And remember that this is being recorded. We'll make all the videos available later. And if you're watching live, you can, of course, pause and rewind so you don't miss anything.
Now, before we hand things to our speakers, we'll set the stage with a quick look at what our teams at JetBrains have been working on for .NET, how the tools support your day-to-day, and a bit of what's next.
Yeah, JetBrains has been around for 25 years and working in the .NET ecosystem for most of that. ReSharper was released way back in 2004, and we've been consistently getting feedback that it and other products powered by ReSharper have been helping the community learn .NET ever since. We've got no intention of slowing down, even as the landscape of development is changing around us. So let's take a look at where we are and how we can support you in the .NET ecosystem.
And if you're in the chat, tell us where in the world you're joining from and what you're building with .NET. You can fire off any questions you've got, and we'll try to answer them in chat or after each session.
Okay, let's talk Rider, our standalone .NET IDE. Over the last release cycle, we've been working hard on lots of core scenarios, and as ever, our What's New page has a nice big list of changes. We've been aiming at what JetBrains does best with developer tools, keeping you in the flow. Less friction, faster feedback, and more intelligence across the app.
In the current release, you'll feel the difference. Quicker stepping in the debugger, a more responsive Razor editing experience, and easier navigation through .NET Aspire services. Using the latest runtime and garbage collector means peak memory usage can be reduced by up to 20%, especially on larger projects. And with a steady polish across Unity, Unreal, and Godot or Godot, whatever you prefer, Matt, so gameplay projects stay snappy, all working towards making Rider a nicer experience for you to use.
And speaking of user experience, we've just shipped an update that enables the new Islands UI theme, a visual refresh of the UI focused on visual clarity. It better separates the editor and tool windows and gives an overall cleaner, more modern development environment. I really like this update. I've been using it since it was first introduced internally, and we've had a lot of great feedback externally too. Switch it on and let us know what you think. We're also very excited to bring the Juny plugin to Rider. Juny is our coding agent integrated directly into the IDE. It's different to the JetBrains AI assistant in that it's designed to work autonomously on more complex tasks. Once installed, you tell it what you want it to do, it will break it down, create a plan, and work through each step of the task. It looks at existing code, generates new code, builds your project checking for errors, and runs tests to verify that the task is done. You get to review and refine the result.
And Rider continues to be one of the most loved IDE experiences in the .NET world. And I want to talk about a story that we've been working on with Syncfusion. They have a SaaS product called Bullsign, and when the team adopted Rider, including the other JetBrains.net tools in .ultimate, they found faster builds, smooth debugging, and quality that scales when the pace picks up. So I encourage you to go to the URL on this slide here at the bottom right and read more about exactly how that team, using a web SaaS product, were able to scale with Rider.
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that Rider has been up to lately. We're very pleased to bring Juny to Rider. It's not installed by default, but you can easily get it from the Marketplace settings page. Once installed, it will add a new tool window ready to accept a prompt for a task to implement. Before starting, it's worth setting up some project-specific guidelines that Juny will use while working, and Juny provides a prompt to generate a good baseline for you to customize further. I've already got some set up for this project, so let's try a prompt for some new functionality to add a discount filter to the eShop sample app. We can extend the tool window to see Juny in action. It will create a plan for how to implement the new feature and work through that plan step by step. It will look at your existing code, make changes, and can also build the project and run tests to verify things. Let's skip forward, and you can see that Juny has made a number of changes to add the discount details to various files, including our Razor pages and the database migration. We can look at another example. Juny understands the context of the project and therefore knows that this is a Unity game. It uses this to know how to implement double jump, a term well known in platform gaming. It also knows that the player controller is responsible for moving the character and can make the necessary changes to this file. We can verify everything works by switching to Unity and playing the game. Of course, there's a lot more to Rider than AI features, and Rider has a lot of ways to help you with .NET development, such as the Services tool window. This gives you a view of all the services related to your solution. You can connect to the local or remote Docker daemon and see and control all of the images and containers that you're using. It's also a great way to work with .NET Aspire, giving you a dashboard in the IDE to start and stop your Aspire hosts. You can see all of the different instances, if they're running or not, current health, and console output. Rider also has great integration with OpenTelemetry and will collect logs from all of your services. It will list the services and instances, show all of the log entries, metrics from performance counters, and trace information. You can even generate a service map based on the trace information, giving you a really helpful visual representation of the dependencies between your services. So that's Rider today. Practical speed-ups you notice in your loop, Juny to accelerate deliberate edits and tests, and modern web and cloud-friendly paths so you spend more time in the code and less time hopping between tools.
And we've got lots more planned. We'll continue working on performance and responsiveness. We're looking specifically at warm startup scenarios, reopening projects that you frequently use. And we've already completed some work, for example, on improving the time taken by Roslyn analyzers in your projects, all to make sure that Rider feels snappier and more responsive to use.
And we're working on lots of other great features to make your development lives better too. Timely support for .NET 10. We're aiming for the same day support, just like we did with .NET 9, and improvements to OpenTelemetry support, because everyone needs to understand what their project is doing. And in fact, if you haven't already checked out the OpenTelemetry support in the current version, you should take a look. It's really helpful stuff. Now, ReSharper.
For folks who live in Visual Studio, the current ReSharper builds can now run out of process, which helps the editor stay responsive, especially on big solutions where every pause breaks your rhythm. This has been a major investment for us, so it's very exciting to be able to use it day to day, and we're getting great feedback from you all that's telling us that moving the main ReSharper engine into its own process has been worth the wait. Looking ahead, we're aligned with the next Visual Studio as well. ReSharper supports Visual Studio 2026 today. and will be there on day one when VS 2026 ships, so you can keep using your refactorings, inspections, and navigation without changing how you work. Now, let's take a quick pass in VS 2026 so you can get a preview.
Alright folks, I'm going to take you on a trip through some great ReSharper news, followed by my 9 ReSharper features that every .NET developer should know about, so have fun. ReSharper is ready for the new Visual Studio 2026, and our out-of-process architecture is becoming ready for ReSharper. There are still some limitations like debugger, profiler, and AI bits, but if you want a smoother typing experience with startup UI freezes cut down up to 61%, you should really give it a try and enable it from the status bar or ReSharper menu. Navigation in ReSharper is not just about a single shortcut and wildcard text search on different elements. The initial letter search helps you to avoid typing out long parts of a search element by using camel humps. Typing a dot gives you a quick look at the type's members. All results are shown in a clean, highlighted, and compact way. It even works a bit fuzzy. For example, tuple names is shown when you search for NT instead of TN. This allows you to find what you're looking for, even if your input isn't exact, whether it's a typo or a fuzzy memory. Besides regular search term-based navigation, ReSharper also provides a growing number of contextual navigation actions. After you've placed the caret on an element, you can invoke Navigate To and explore more specific items. One of the most recent additions is related tests and subject, but you can also find old and familiar friends like consuming and exposing APIs, extension methods, show usages, or decompiled sources. Note that all actions have the assigned shortcut shown next to them for your skill progression. Statistically, a large part of our work concerns reading and navigating code. Only after we understand the surrounding bits, we can confidently implement new features. Switching between reading and writing becomes essential, and ReSharper makes it effortless and targeted with the following actions. Go to recent files as a stack of previously visited files. Go to recent edits, same as recent files, but filtered to those with changes. And go to last edit location as a direct navigation to the recent edits. Once you start typing in these pop-ups, you can further filter the results. For many developers, these actions have made searching through editor tabs obsolete. As a developer, I often see my peers rely on the mouse to select text, which is rather inefficient and often imprecise. With the Extend Selection action, you can successively select the next higher logical block of code from your original caret position. Shrink Selection travels the selection stack backwards. Similar to structural navigation, this feature relies on the concept of abstract syntax trees, with small modifications to make it more useful and predictable. Both act as the groundwork for follow-up refactorings like introduce variable or extract method, by allowing an accurate selection. They also enable the structural remove feature, which removes remaining white spaces and utility characters around your selection. Rearranging code is common practice, but cut and paste is a provisional solution that often requires manual fixes. ReSharper lets you move code at the structural level, preserving logic and context. For example, you can reorder statements naturally, even across multiple lines. The greedy brace feature on compound statements like if or using statements is another way to quickly adjust block scopes. I use move left and move right mainly to reorder expression operands, collection elements, or parameters and arguments. And fun fact, during live demos I never get the shortcut right. Every year we get a new box full of valuable C# language features, so huge thanks to Mats Torgersen and the C# language team. As developers and consumers, we want to integrate those features efficiently across the codebase. With ReSharper's inspections, quick fixes, and context actions, you can confidently modernize code not only in a single spot, but also at solution, project, and file scope. Many developers rely on ReSharper's suggestions to discover and adopt new C# features. Personally, I might depend eternally, since I rarely get my pattern matching right on the first try. The yay is up my sleeve to teach even seasoned users of ReSharper something new during presentations. Postfix templates allow you to perform complex transformations via special completion items that look like instance methods. My personal favorites are collection.forEach, type.new, and expression.var. With our latest edition, service.inject, we push the imaginable a little bit further. Definitely check out our growing list of postfix templates in our documentation. A consistent code style and code formatting eliminates unnecessary friction in reading and working with your code. However, configuring it through text files is probably not the most enjoyable task. ReSharper provides a visual editing experience to adjust code style for a selected fragment or to detect rules from code with the desired look. You can store and share formatting rules in a number of formats with the Save To button, including editor config. A largely underrated feature is the Save As Comments button, which adds formatter instructions that are only valid for the selection. For instance, you might not always want to align code in columns, but occasionally it can be very useful. And one more tip, you can also troubleshoot your formatting with ease. Visual Studio's context menu in the Solution Explorer is kind of bloated, but if you look close enough or hit Ctrl-Shift-R, you can find some really beneficial large-scale refactorings that save you plenty of time. Who wants to deal with file creation during prototyping, or wants to adjust all those namespaces when you move files around? Right. ReSharper wants to do that for you. And by the way, you should really check out the recently introduced Convert Usings to Global refactoring with its great interface to make well-informed decisions. I hope you learned some new productivity tricks to get more out of ReSharper in Visual Studio 2026. Tell us about your favorite features in the chat or in the comments. And with that, back to Mehul and Matt.
It's very exciting to be able to use ReSharper out of process. The same ReSharper features, smoother feel, and ready for VS 2026 when it lands.
And if you've been waiting to try ReSharper again on a large solution, this is a great moment to give it another spin.
Now, it's not a secret that some of you use VS Code as well as Rider and ReSharper. Some of us may wish that that wasn't the case, but apparently not everyone wants to use Vim. But hey, we all need an editor for small changes and quick reviews, and as we all know, those quick edits often take a little longer than planned. So we've released two extensions to bring JetBrains Code Intelligence into VS Code and VS Code-based editors.
ReSharper for VS Code brings many well-loved ReSharper features to your editor. Navigation, completion, inspections, and quick fixes, and ReSharper's smart rename.
And AI Assistant brings multi-line code completion from Melum, our own open source language model designed specifically for code completion. It will also generate commit messages and code documentation, as well as providing chat and a smart coding agent, all as part of the same AI subscription you've got with other JetBrains tools. Let's take a look at ReSharper for Visual Studio Code. It's currently available in the marketplace, so it's very easy to install, and it's currently a public preview and will be part of .ultimate when it's released. Once installed, you just need to open a folder that contains a solution file, and ReSharper will load the solution and be ready to work. By default, you'll see a view of your folders like you do normally with Visual Studio Code, but ReSharper adds a solution explorer, so you get to see all the folders, solution items, and projects that you've got in your solution. You can, of course, navigate inside. You can see the package dependencies, the project dependencies, and open other files. And once we do open a file, you can see that there's full syntax highlighting there. We've got sticky lines as you scroll, and of course, things like hover tooltip documentation. There are also type hints as well, so you can see what type a var is, for example, and you can very quickly control-click to navigate through. One thing you'll notice as well is that ReSharper has inspections built into it. So for example, here we can see that the namespace doesn't correspond to the file location, and we can change that using the Quick Fix menu. We also get several other items in our Quick Fix menu, such as the rewrite item, little refactorings that will work across the solution. So for example, here we can convert this namespace into a block scope namespace. We can also see that we've got a problem here with the using directive that isn't being required. We can open a quick fix here, and again we can remove the unused directive. We also have several other items down the bottom here where we've got more actions. Here we can remove the unused directives in not just the file, but across the folder, the projects, the solution. So we get many of ReSharper's advanced refactorings and quick fixes as part of Visual Studio Code. ReSharper for Visual Studio Code also comes with live templates to make life a little bit easier there for adding code very quickly. So we can quickly add a class, or we could add a for loop, or perhaps a for each loop as well. So making it very easy to start working and entering code snippets. We also support ReSharper's postfix templates as well, so I can do things like userid.null to create an if statement for a null check, or userid.notNull to create a not null if check. And ReSharper for Visual Studio Code doesn't work with just C# files, but it also works with Blazor files and Razor files and XAML files as well. And we can use the navigation to go and find some of these files. So for example, we can go to cartpage.razor here, and you can see we've got syntax highlighting again. We've got code completion for our HTML items. And if we go back up to the top, we've also got an inspection here to tell us that this property is not used. Again, we can use the quick fix menu here to remove this unused property, and we get to use ReSharper's known refactorings to make that happen. We can use Visual Studio Code's command palette for navigation as well, and all of our items are available to navigate to. We can also navigate to compile types, and we will show the decompiled item, or we will download the item based on your NuGet package. Again, here we've got an example of a ReSharper inspection of an unused property, and we can very easily here use our quick fixes to remove this property. We can also navigate to other items and see some other inspections that are available. For example, here we've got a warning that this assert has got the arguments in the wrong order. We should be using a constant value as the expected value, not as the actual value. So we can use Visual Studio's command palette here to call the rearrange right item and handily pick up the keyboard shortcut to rearrange the arguments. We can see we've still got an inspection item here to tell us we're using a method instead of a property. And again, we can use the quick fix item to quickly clean that up. We can also right click on an item and select go to definition. Or we could right click on an item and do go to references and see where it is used inside the code. And we can jump through this in our peek window. Alternatively, we could use the keyboard shortcut to find all references and get a more persistent result view. And of course, we have a number of ReSharper's refactorings available to us, which we can view with the refactoring pop-up. We can also use ReSharper's rename refactoring to very safely and clearly rename just the symbol that we want to change. The AI Assistant extension for Visual Studio Code is also available in the marketplace and is also in public preview. It makes a great complement to ReSharper for Visual Studio Code. For example, it integrates with a quick fix menu to allow you to generate documentation for methods or classes. You can right-click on code and find more actions in the JetBrains AI Assistant context menu, and also in the command palette. And of course, it supports code completion, so you can quickly generate the code you need. It is also helpful for generating commit messages, taking away some of that boilerplate for you. And of course, there is the chat window, where you can choose between different top-tier models, such as GPT-5 and Claude Sonnet 4.5. You can also add context and choose between modes: lightweight chat mode, where you can ask questions about your code base or public APIs; edit mode for lightweight multi-file edits and refactorings; and then agent mode for working on more complex tasks, where it can break the task down for you and run through it step by step. So if your day splits, some quick edits in VS Code, some deep work in Rider, you can keep context and still get useful help either way.
And when you want assistance inside the IDEs, we'll talk AI Assistant and Juny together next so you can see how they fit your everyday flow. AI is having a big impact on the industry right now and the world. It's hard to get through a sentence without those two letters cropping up, let alone a presentation. It's definitely changing the way we work, from AI assistants to agentic workflows. And we saw earlier that we now have Juny in Rider, finally, working autonomously on your code on your behalf. And we've just seen our AI assistant preview in VS Code. All of these tools are deeply integrated into the IDE. Rider and ReSharper engine have a deep knowledge of your code, and we can make that available to AI models, which is a benefit because it gives access to the indexes that we build, the deterministic refactorings in the IDE, and much more.
Yeah, all of this is covered by the JetBrains AI subscription, and the AI Pro level is included with the .ultimate and all product packs subscriptions. If you're going to be doing agentic workflows, which of course consume more credits, there's also the AI Ultimate level and top-up credits are available. The subscription doesn't tie you to a single model, and we've just introduced support for the latest models from leading providers, including Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5 and OpenAI GPT-5. In fact, we've also just released an AI assistant update that includes Claude Agent, an advanced AI coding agent based on the Anthropic Agent SDK, which powers Claude Code. So you now have the choice of using Juny or Claude as your coding agent. If we can choose between different AI models, why not also different AI agents, all as part of one subscription? Let's take a look. You're probably already familiar with the AI actions that are available with AI Assistant. For example, being able to generate documentation for methods and classes. I find it particularly useful to be able to push this boilerplate to the AI for me so that I can concentrate more on the code itself. But AI Assistant is being continuously updated and we're getting new features. For example, we recently released Next Edit Suggestions, which is a way for the AI Assistant to be able to suggest code modifications as you type. During the beta, it's not enabled by default, but you can quickly go into settings and switch it on. We'll have it enabled by default very soon. When enabled, AI Assistant will watch your typing and will look for similar changes. If it sees that you're making similar edits across the file, it will start to then suggest them for you. And you can hit Tab to review the changes and very quickly accept them. And a very quick way of making repetitive changes across your code base. While we're inside the settings, it's worth pointing out a few other things that are useful. For example, AI Assistant supports MCP, the Model Context Protocol, a great open standard for how to add extra functions and abilities, external data, external tools into the AI Assistant itself. It's very easy to add a server. You can even import it from different applications, or you can add it entering the arguments by itself or by switching to JSON and replacing it with a value from documentation. Once enabled, these commands can be available inside the AI chat. We've also got project rules that you can create. And this is a great way of being able to add additional guidelines into your project and into the context of your chat. For example, you can add extra context, which is going to explain more about how you want your application to work and how you want AI answers to be delivered to you. You've got the option to always apply these rules, so they are added to the context all the time. You can add them manually through the chat window, or you can even ask the model to do it itself, or have the rules applied based on a specific file pattern. These files are saved in your project, and you can check these into source control so everybody on your team can get the benefit of it. And the chat window itself has been updated. We've done lots more work on additional context. There's lots of context that can be added automatically when code-based mode is enabled, but you can also choose the context that you want. For example, we've just created a rules file. We can pick one of those based on the number of different rule files we've got added in our project, or we can add files and folders, or symbols, and you can type to search to find particular classes that you want to add. We've also got the ability to add commits, the project structure, and also images if the model supports it. This is a great way of prototyping, and you can provide a wireframe to the AI so that it can build something to your specification. Another nifty feature we've got is this add context from UI. This allows you to take context from one of the tool windows in the user interface and add it as context into an AI query. For example, if we have the project file open, then we can ask for more information from the AI based on the details in the project window. The same with the commit window. If we're showing a list of commits there, we can take this, add context from UI, and choose it and add that context from the tool window into our chat. We also have the ability to use the @mentions to be able to attach different bits of context, whether it's a file, a folder, or a symbol, and also the / commands to be able to search in the IDE documentation, suggest refactorings, or even use tools from different MCP servers that we've got set up. We also have the ability to select the different models. And one of the beauties of being able to have a single AI subscription with JetBrains is the ability to access top tier models. We've got all the different models that are available to you, whether that's GPT-5 or Claude Sonnet, or even some of the smaller models as well if you want to do some light work there too. There's also the ability to use local models. For example, here we can set up third-party providers from Ollama, LM Studio, and so on. And we can use that to set up different models rather than having to call the models that are on the JetBrains AI platform. We've also changed the way that modes work. We've still got the default chat mode, which is the great way of being able to ask questions about your code base, ask questions about APIs. But we've also got the quick edit mode and several other agents as well. So quick edit is a way of making small changes, lightweight changes, things that can be applied automatically by the edit model and applied to your code. But we've also introduced Claude Agent. So we're very pleased to bring in Claude from Anthropic's Agent SDK, and we can actually use that as a full agent inside the AI chat. We're of course working to bring Juny in there, but it's not quite there yet. We'll have that soon. If we select Claude Agent, we can then start to ask it to do things. We can get it to run some tasks for us, and we can have that either in Brave mode, we can ask it to generate a plan rather than actually execute it, and so on. So for example, we can ask it to run a task on our project. And Claude will then go off, it'll start looking at the project, it'll generate a plan, and it'll start to work through the different steps of that plan. Used well, AI accelerates your judgment. You decide, it drafts.
And because it's built into Writer, it shows up exactly when you need it without breaking your flow. All right, now a quick note for students, open source contributors, and folks building personal projects. We continue to make many JetBrains tools available for the community when the work is non-commercial. So think learning, teaching, open source, research, or hobby builds.
And we recently added DataGrip to this list too, joining Rider, WebStorm, CLion, and Rust Rover. It's really great to have a common, familiar set of powerful tools when starting to learn a new language or enter a new ecosystem. DataGrip's database and SQL tooling is fantastic, and we're even using some of that technology to power database support in ReSharper too. So if you're using Visual Studio, go check that out. It's also built into Rider, so if you want to learn how to use databases, learn a new different database technology, you can use Rider or DataGrip for free for non-commercial use.
And for commercial teams or when you're working on commercial projects, the straightforward path is .ultimate. Rider, ReSharper, and the rest of the .NET toolset from JetBrains in one bundle that includes JetBrains AI Pro as part of the same subscription.
So hopefully you can see that JetBrains has got your back for .NET development. ReSharper, first introduced in 2004, 21 years ago, is always being updated. It's had a huge rewrite to support running out of process and already runs with the latest Visual Studio 2026 inside a preview.
And Rider is focusing on performance as well as keeping pace with new .NET and C# and F# language versions. It's adding integration with Azure DevOps to streamline your cloud-based workflows and has support for industry standard tooling like OpenTelemetry. Looking ahead, we'll be ready when .NET 10 releases, so you can adopt new runtime and language features without breaking your rhythm. And Rider and ReSharper, both on VS and VS Code, will be there with suggestions and quick fixes.
And we're very much aware of how the development landscape is changing and want to give you the best of both worlds. Smart AI tooling with Juny, an autonomous coding agent working for you, and AI assistant explaining code, suggesting refactorings, and generating commit messages and documentation. And the navigation, inspections, and deterministic refactorings of an engine that has spent the last 21 years helping .NET developers. We're hoping to do so for the next 21 years. So thank you for your attention. I hope you've seen something new that you'd like to download and try. Grab the trials, try the previews, and tell us what helps and what needs more love. We're looking for your feedback.
And now we've got 2 packed days ahead, talks on ASP.NET Core and web APIs, testing, performance, modern cloud with .NET Aspire, Azure, data in EF Core, F#, and a lot more.
Yes, enjoy the show, keep coding, and I hope you have a wonderful day.